Hello, hello. Hello, hello, everyone. There we go. I just got this new mic. Today we are talking about distractions. We're going to talk about how not to get sucked into distractions that are keeping you from your light and why that is essential right now. Essential right now. There are forces, call them whatever you want, people, forces that want your energy and they want it bad. They feed off of it and you give it to them freely. It's like having $100 bills and you're just giving something that's not generative, not contributory toward you, and oftentimes very destructive, just paying it. Here, have another $100 bill. Here, have another $100 bill. Oh, would you like the whole stack? Here you go. Let's have some more. Freely giving your energy when you could actually have that energy for yourself. Okay, that's what we're talking about today. How not to get sucked into distractions, keeping you from your light. Hello, welcome everybody. I'm excited you're joining us live. And if you're live, you can hashtag live. And if you're coming to watch the replay, just hashtag replay, and I'll see your comments. How cool is that? All right. So, what I wanted to talk to you guys or with you guys about today, and just I'm arranging my screen so I can sort of see everything. There we go. Now I can see your comments. Is that we have right now, and this, if you look at the grand scheme of things, there are always distractions, right? There are various categories of distractions. Like, for example, if you're like, I want to eat healthy, right? And then you have the distraction of the cake from yesterday in the fridge, right? Or you have the distraction of the friend who wants to take you out to dinner. Or you have some other distraction that's sort of a light distraction. It's not really sucking your energy, but it's keeping you from what you know you want, what you say you want, and a different possibility, right? So there's a distraction. So that's what we're talking about. Is anything that's keeping you from you being generative. And that generative energy is the energy that gives you your life, that gives you your present, that is and feeds your spirit, basically. Right? So when we're talking about generative energy, we can actually rate things as how generative is this? How much energy is this giving me? How much energy is this taking from me? And you can ask that. That's actually one of the things that I start looking at is this actually giving me energy or taking energy from me? Am I feeling better after this or am I feeling exhausted after this? Right? And so what I started looking at recently, well, first of all, I'm going to go over a couple of things, couple techniques that I use for myself to assist you guys if you are dealing with this. But I wanted to just acknowledge that, during this whole pandemic, COVID-19, everything going on in the world, everything from the fear to the distraction to the covert distraction to the alternate theories of really being aware and knowing that things aren't right. So media is not telling us the truth. So if media is not telling us the truth, then we're like, hey, there's so much I actually have to say about this. I didn't even know. What happens with me is it all comes into my head at once, and then I have to decipher what there is to say first. So let's see what there is to say first. Okay, let's just say this. Right now, there is generative energy for each one of us. And generative means it's going to be expansive. You're going to feel better with generative energy. You're going to feel better with generative choices. It's going to make you go, yeah, I'm on track. Okay. If you don't feel certain that you're on track for the day, you're off track. And that's not wrong. It's not bad necessarily. It's just kind of like wasting your energy, throwing those $100 bills down the drain. Okay. And is that really what you want to choose? Is that really what you came here for specifically right now? Okay. Now, right now, we are at a critical point in time, and this point in time is very big. It's been happening for a number of years, and now we're at a very heightened point in time, right, where we're going, okay, our energy matters. Our energy matters so much that those old distractions that you used to be okay with, so whether you're in a mediocre relationship, you're accepting or just allowing certain things to happen in your life that you don't really like, but you've just been like doing status quo with, right? Those sorts of things need to be cleaned up, like right now. It is time to stop wasting your precious, valuable currency that is your energy. When you do this, when you clean up your field of what you're choosing, what you're paying attention to, because every time you're paying attention, you're putting energy into that. Okay, when you clean up your field, oh, and every time you resist and react to something, every time you buy into something, it's all just spending your energy. And we do have infinite amounts of energy, but we can tell what it's contributing to based on how we feel afterwards. So like I said, if you feel great after a choice, then that was generative. If you don't feel great after that choice, that was not generative for you. You want to start to consciously eliminate the non-generative choices you are making every single day. If you do that, you will become superhuman. You'll become superhuman. Magical things will start happening in your life. You will start having even greater awareness, even more guidance for what you're here for. It's these distractions that keep our minds busy, that keeps our bodies sick, that keep us busy doing things like worrying about world events, trying to keep ourselves safe. But when we really tap into those generative energies, nothing can touch us. And magic happens. We are totally supported by the universe, by the field. But if you're choosing destructive, non-generative choices in your life, distractions, then you will not be able to tap into this field. Why? Because you have this amazing yacht, amazing, high-tech, top-of-the-line, gorgeous yacht that can survive any storm, right? Get you anywhere in the world or the universe, really. But it's got holes in it, and that's what those distractions are. Those distractions are holes in this beautiful yacht. It's rusted out. And this is what a lot of the work that I do with people really is just cleaning up your life, cleaning up your field, cleaning up your awareness, cleaning up your choices, cleaning up your head, cleaning up your body. Okay? And when you start doing this, you will notice everything accelerates for you. And you might notice that when you do this, when you start eliminating the distractions, you'll notice a difference between the reality you live in and the reality other people live in. Okay, has anybody already noticed that? Hi, everybody joining us live. Oh, now I can see your comments. Okay, yeah, I've been calling it a covert operation. It's covert, but to those of us who are aware, it's not covert. We can see it. How many of you guys could see what's going on? At minimum, that there are truths and lies combined together used to want to control your emotions. Your emotions are a valuable energy. And when you're like getting mad and upset about something, you're directing all your energy to that, right? Now, in my last video last week, we were talking about timelines, and we were talking about how when you put that energy into the timeline, the future that you would like to be living into, not resisting and reacting what's being projected in you, because that's literally feeding that timeline, feeding that reality. So if you didn't get to watch that, you can go back to last week's and check it out. We went sort of in a deep dive of that. But when we clean up our distractions, so tell me this, what are you guys distracted with? What is coming up in your world right now, right, that you find yourself paying attention to, dealing with, managing, getting upset with, getting sad about? And by the way, the emotions aren't necessarily bad. The distractions are the ones that come up frequently where this isn't the first time, right? It's like ongoing thing. Like if you're constantly fighting your father-in-law about politics, that is a distraction. It's not going anywhere. And the other way you can tell is if I continue doing this, will it create the same result or a different result? And that's how you know you're in a non-generative distraction. So some distractions are sort of light, the light distractions. It's like you might be just procrastinating on something, right? You might have a little dessert after dinner when you're trying to be healthy or whatever your thing is. It doesn't even matter. And then there's the ones that are actually non-generative that are going against what your generative energy really is. Okay, and where what timeline you're targeting for, your lightness. Okay, so it is very possible to, actually it happens a lot, you can see it, and it might be within you, you might be able to see it in other people, where they're choosing so many non-generative things for themselves, their bodies are sick. Massive life disrupts happen, right? Things just don't work. They always have bad luck. That's where, like, if I look at their life, you could point out the things that they're choosing that are not generative. And if you remove those as choices, or if they remove them, because you can't do it for anybody else, if they pivot and choose something different, choose a different energy, choose a different response, choose a different way to relating to themselves, then their whole reality will start to show up more congruently. And when it's congruent, it's in harmony. And when it's in harmony, that's when it gets really good. Right? And that's what so many of us are actually targeting for. And when your reality is really good, that means you are congruent. You're also rewarded on your choices of congruency. And it's not like a reward like you've been good or bad, not like that at all. But when you are choosing things that are congruent, that's when the magic shows up. And the reason that is because that's just when everything can flow in. That's when, like I was making my desk the other day, and it was upside down. It's a glass desk, and it's got these, I had to put these it was all really heavy. I had to put these legs upside down and find the holes, and I was doing it all by myself. And it was like, when it's not congruent, the screws when the holes don't match up, the screw can't actually go in. So it's like you have all of these possibilities, these potentials waiting for you in your field. And once you get congruent, they start to show up. Just like when you line up those holes, the screw, funny analogy, the screw actually can go in. The screw can't go in until you are congruently aligned so that it can. So those things that are in your field will start to show up, and it seems like magic, but the truth is you've been putting a lot of energy into those things anyway. Those potentials have just been waiting for you to slip into that congruency, that lightness, to get rid of that other distraction, to line up the holes so that the screw can just slide right in. And we call that magic, and it's not really magic. It's a predictable, what was the other word I was thinking of earlier? Thing that you can set up for yourself. When you have a priority of being congruent with yourself, with your being, then that sort of stuff just is the way it is. That's just how you will live life if that is your priority. But what you have to do first is get rid of the distractions and own the fact that your energy is valuable. It is one of your most valuable assets. How cool is that? And we have it, and we have infinite amounts of it. So where are you putting your energy? Sounds like okay, I'll just look at your questions here. Sounds like non-generative choices or those that don't match our priorities. I mean, yes, and you got to see what shows up. So the real measure is, how does it show up? So you might think you have a priority of one thing from your mind, right? And then you are putting energy into that priority and it's not really working out. Then your priority might be a little bit off. That's why I like going for energetic priorities, because the energy never lies. You feel that. When you're congruent with an energetic priority, then your whole field is aiding that energy, and allows other things that are congruent with that energy to show up. So yes and no for that one, Faith. I'd like to be more and not do all the time. What's interesting about that is that I think that it seems to me, with working with thousands of people from all around the world, people oftentimes have a perspective about being versus doing. Okay. When you're being, you're oftentimes active. You're oftentimes in action. The difference between action and doing is just your perspective. You think you need to do. Action is intuitive. So if you're intuitively actioning, then things are usually easier. There's a more ease and flow to everything. And that's when your efforts are exponential. Okay? If you're doing, it's usually you have to do in order to get something. And I have to do this in order to get money. I have to do this in order to get that, right? Then you're pushing your agenda to try to create it in your world, which oftentimes is a massive distraction. But where is all that coming from? Our heads. Our heads aren't creative. Our heads, our thinking is only going to the past reference points to try to configure what we think we should do to get life right. And that's why head creation doesn't really work as well as the intuitive creation, as what I would call energetic mastery, right? Where you're actually tuning into the energies so that you allow the energies to create for you. And then you have a level of elegance, a level of ease, a level of magic that starts showing up because you're congruent, not based on doing more, but based on being more. But it doesn't have anything to do with how much action you're in, right? So just wanted to clarify that, because oftentimes that's a big misconception. If I was just being, frolicking around my backyard all day long, that may or may not create. Sometimes there's a lot of actions to take, and sometimes there's very intense times, and sometimes it takes a little hustle. And that's what I find too, oftentimes is, when you're pulling out these distractions, you got to look at what are you distracting yourself from, right? What is your distraction keeping you in avoidance of? And what if that is one of the things you actually came for? Right? What if that's really there? Now, oftentimes we find people have this sort of resistance or avoidance or fear of success, fear of being their lightness, fear of using their voice, fear of being the magic they are. And oftentimes it's a subconscious thing. It's not something you would say in your head necessarily. I don't want to be more magic. I'm afraid of that. But if we really look at it, there might be a fear of being too much, based on maybe something you had happen in your childhood. Lots of reasons why. Maybe another lifetime. Who knows? Right? So, okay, cool. Let me just look at your questions here. Yeah, intuitive creations require you to be in more of your heart space too. Heart space centered, and I think it looks a little bit different for a lot of different people. It's like, I don't specifically tune into my heart space. There's another sort of receiving that I personally tune into, but other people tune into their heart space. Other people tune into their gut. Other people are really responding to the spherical energy that's around, right? Other people are allowing themselves to be guided. I know that for me, when I'm distracted, I'm actually keeping myself not from guidance, right? From what's right in front of me, from that next step. Okay. Now, why is any of this important right now, right? We were talking about that at the beginning. Why is any of this important? Right now, if you are a light worker, if you are what some would call a star seed, if you are a wave of the volunteers like Dolores Cannon talks about in her books, if you are here to bring more light, if you know you're here to contribute to new realities, and that might sound like in your head, I want to make a difference, I want to change the world. That's a little bit bastardized. Oftentimes, awareness is coming through because the light workers didn't come to change anything. They came to bring the new. So we don't have to fight anybody. We don't have to change anybody else. We don't have to resist and react to anybody. To Robin's point, I was going to call you Louise for a minute there. To Robin's point, to be that fully, to be the light fully, to bring you to the table, to bring your expression to the table, to bring your creativity to the table, to be full of light for you, to create the new realities. There's a lot of talk right now on the media, the Mockingbird media, that's talking about new normal, new normal, new normal. Who wants normal? I don't want normal. Do you want normal? I see a totally different reality that's available. Okay, I see it, and I know a lot of you guys do too, a totally different way of relating to things, a totally different way of functioning. Okay, this is where, when you get clear and out of the distractions, that will come through so much stronger. So I'm curious, do you have awarenesses of what that reality is like, what it feels like, how people function, possibly how you function, right? Yes, it's time for a shift. Exactly. The shift is not about fighting the old. What is it, Buckmeister Fuller? I'm totally bastardizing his name right now. God, I wish I had the quote right now. It's just popping into my head. I'm not good at quotes. But anyway, he basically says, you want something new, don't fight the old. Just go put more energy basically into the new, create the new. And the old will become obsolete. This reality that is rearing its ugly head, it's rearing its ugly head because it's going away. It's not because it's going to get stronger. It's because it's going away. And every single light worker on the planet right now, and everyone that's helping us not in bodies right now, is bringing the light so much that they have to try to control. So if we are distracted and not in our full potency, right, we're just not bringing as much light as we possibly can to that new reality, to those other timelines. If you can call them timelines, you can call them new realities, whatever you perceive they are. Okay, so how do we change the new normal if they will make laws for that? So here's the thing, you have to stop, and here's the distraction. Okay, I have a couple ways to say this. Don't buy it. Just because they're throwing it down, don't buy it. When you say, oh, they're doing this, now I got to react to it, that's not right, that's wrong, I don't want that law in place, that's going to affect me, then boom, they just sucked your energy. They just got you. They just got you now in a loop of fight with them. Okay? You want to bypass that. Ask yourself, is that on my timeline? Is that in the new reality? I get a no. Okay, where can I put my energy now? Okay, if they pass a law, who's to say that it can't be unpassed? Who's to say that it can't shift? Who's to say that nobody will enforce it? Who's to say that it'll have anything to do with you? Okay? And that's the other thing you want to start looking at is there are different realities, you guys. You see the people who are down on their luck and they have a whole lifetime of bad luck or something like that. You see the people who always have bad things happening in their life or unfortunate circumstances, and they seem to be nice people. Every single one of us is living out our own path. Their path doesn't necessarily have anything to do with your path, and that's one of the biggest lies that we've bought, is that we need to bring people with us, that we need to save everybody. And that's also a distraction, because the greatest thing you can put your energy into is being your full light, putting your energy into it, and that is like shining the light on a million dark shadows. So if you shine the light on a million dark shadows, how much would that ripple go into the world? But the thing is, you won't know it because you can't quantify it. You can't track that. You can't trace that with all those apps. We have one in Australia right now, the Tracer app. So you can't trace that. You can't quantify it. It's not linear. You didn't come to be linear. And so we have to get out of that linear thinking. The linear thinking is, this is happening, I have to fight it. Now, you might get in your awareness to sign a petition. You might get in your awareness to go to a protest. You might get in your awareness what's generative for you, a response. But if you find yourself fighting what they're trying to push through, nothing ever gets resolved or created through a fight. It always gets resolved when enough people stop fighting, that there is no more fight, and they're like, we're just not fighting with it anymore, we're over here. And that kind of energy isn't available over here. There are different levels of reality, if you've noticed. Some people living, I was trying to say this before, but I went off on a different way to explain it. There's different levels of reality. I noticed this the first time when I was living in California, and I had this beautiful ocean view apartment, and there's like 8 kinds of butterflies and 7 kinds of birds and these beautiful flowers, and it was lush. And I was just like, oh, this is just like heaven. And I could perceive I was in a different density. I was in a different reality than everybody around me. I could feel it. I was having something different. And when you let go of trying to save people, let go of trying to help the ones that aren't helpable, right? Right now we have a lot of people really fighting and fact checking and buying into a lot of the agenda and the media that's going on. They're not ready to see what you're aware of, whatever that is that you're aware of. And if you came here to create new realities, then you got to put more energy into that. What they choose and what they believe and what they buy into is none of your business unless it is. And how you'll know is that when you engage with it, it actually expands you. If you're engaging with something and it contracts you, that's none of your business. Okay? All right, I'm going to look at your comments real quick. Yeah. Yeah, and when you shift your when you start noticing where you're distracted, like one way people can get distracted is, before this whole pandemic thing, it was getting distracted with how many likes they were getting on their photos, right? Or comments or something like that, right? That's a distraction. This could be who agrees with me on my point of view, right? How many people are fighting me? How many people are agreeing with me? And I notice too, like I still, every now and then I'll get sucked into yeah, I really want to show you what I know. I want to awaken you, but you don't have the power to do that. Every single one of us is in control and in charge of our own awakening, our own perspective. And if someone isn't able or doesn't want to see a different way, then that's just where they're at. And it's not right and it's not wrong. It's just not generative to fight it. It is way more generous and kind to allow them to have the perspective that they have. Now, one of the things you might see me doing online is I'll respond with a perspective. But I don't have an expected outcome. Are they going to like it? Are they not going to like it? Are they going to fight with me? Are they going to agree and align with me? It's like if I get the hit to drop a little consciousness bomb in their universe, I will. But the key to doing that is you have to unattach from any outcome. And if you can do that effectively, it won't affect you in terms of being not generative for you and distracting for you. If you find yourself getting into fights online, if you find yourself trying to be right, proving other people wrong, those are all distractions. And they're very easy to get into because that's what so many people are caught up in, is that main distraction. It's wasting their energy. They're staying up at night fighting with people because it's an addictive energy. It actually it activates your biological system of the fight and flight. Right, so it activates your adrenaline. And for some people, the adrenaline is actually an energetic addiction, right? Energetic addiction to drama. So if you have had an energetic addiction to drama, for example, you might find yourself wanting to be right or poking people or trying to get people to wake up or trying to bring people with you. And that's something you want to start to acknowledge and resolve within yourself. This is not going anywhere, unfortunately. I wish it did. Wouldn't that be great? But we actually have something even greater at our fingertips, which is putting our energy into what creates more lightness, what generates for us, because that's going to contribute to these new realities showing up. So if you haven't watched the last video on timelines, I would highly recommend that, of where are you putting your energy, because that'll help with what we're talking about here. So you go, is this contributing to my highest timeline? Is this contributing to, and then just ask whatever lights you up. If it's the new realities or however your languaging is, it doesn't really matter. If you're choosing to go, no, that is heavy and contractive, that makes me want to throat punch somebody, that's a distraction. Okay? Put your energy into what lights you up, what makes you feel more calm, peace, happy, enthusiastic about life. Okay? Because we are seeing some amazing, amazing things happen right now on the planet. And I'm so excited for them that it makes me go, no, it's working. It's working. And that's what you want to be certain about, is that it is working. There is no doubt. It is already happening. It is already working. The dark can't outshine the light. Now, whatever you're looking at, whether you're looking at personal stuff and you're watching this 3 years from now and you're looking at your own darkness and your own lightness, or maybe you have a narcissistic partner, I don't know. But it is all the same no matter what you're looking at, no matter if this was 5 years ago, 10 years ago. It's the exact same conversation. Yeah. Oh, so glad you came, Monica. Go for the energy that expands you. It never fails. Never fails. That is part of your guidance system. Yes, Sharon. Yes, that's made sense. I've loved the drama. I wanted to comment on something on Twitter, but thought more about it and decided not to. Great way to use your energy for you instead of against you. But sometimes, like I said, those little consciousness bombs, but that's where if you wanted to practice that or you wanted to be aware, drop a little consciousness bomb in there and it sort of festers, but it requires to work, it requires you being completely unattached and not fighting, resisting, reacting, aligning, or agreeing, or having any projected outcome in your mind. You have to let it completely go and do its job. Yeah, I love that. Thanks for repeating that, Faith. It's none of your business if it contracts you. It's none of your business if it contracts you. That's what your awareness is telling you. Nah, you don't need to go there. If you're going like this, if you want to fight, that's your awareness telling you don't go there. Ain't got nothing to do with you. That's their stuff. Every single one of us right now has our journey. We have our own evolution. And wherever people are just wherever people are. And I'm just going to say this one more time. The more you put the energy into the generative actions, the generative feelings for you, and the less you engage with these distractions, the more you will evolve, right? And basically, what's funny is we're evolving not, you can look at it a number of different ways. There's a lot of evolving out of this reality, evolving out of the programming of this reality, not buying the media, not buying the projections, not buying the rightness and the wrongness and the polarity, not buying any of that else as true. It's the evolution out of this reality, which is shedding these layers of lies that we've been conditioned with so that we are actually free as the infinite beings that we are. And like I said at the beginning, those of us who came to be the light, to shed the light, to shine the light, to create new realities, there is something within you that knows that that is true. There's something within you that knows, and that's our light, that's our beacon. And if you're watching this, you are it. You are the light. And this is what we came for. I highly recommend Dolores, if you do a Google search for Dolores Cannon, 3 Waves of Volunteers. That is an amazing concept that she has brought through that really resonated with me personally. But if you haven't, you're wondering, am I here to bring the light? You probably are. I would say yes. But also, that's a really great resource to give you some more information about what all this stuff is. All right, you guys, thank you so much for joining me today and all of us today. I appreciate you, and I can't wait to see where we take these brilliantly aware conversations. Yeah, Leah, you are the light. You've been hanging around me for a long time. There's no doubt that you're the light. I do have a new class coming up that has to do with energetic mastery, and it's not quite ready yet, but I will let you guys know when it is. And I would love, love, love to assist you in having energetic mastery so that you're unfuckwithable, so that you don't get into these distractions. They don't tank you. You be the light and you create the realities that you came to create, that you are certain without a doubt. Certain is without a doubt on path for yourself, and know how to use your energy to create not just, well, new realities, and that will show up as a life beyond your imagination, because that's what's available to you. All right, you guys, I adore you. Thank you so much for joining me here in Brilliantly Aware. If you have any friends that would love this conversation, please feel free to invite them to the group. And I'd love to see this community grow with even more brilliant, kind, amazing, magical light workers. All right. We'll talk to you later. Talk to you next week. So I'm also doing shows every single week at the same time. So if you want to put it on your calendar, you can join us live. All right, you guys. We'll see you next time. Thanks for joining me. We'll talk to you later.